welcome to episode 9 of Brunch with Besties. I am Sherry Renee and I have
Chanel.
And today we also have another pod with us.
Yay! Woo! Yay!
Our first pod with us, actually.
So excited.
Wow.
Yes. Her coffee, his tea. Bridget and Major.
Yes. Welcome.
Thank y'all for having us, for real. This is
Thank you.
fun.
Thank
This
you
is our
so much.
first guest appearance.
I
Yes.
The first of many. The first,
First of many. Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So before we get started, let's talk a little bit about the pod. Her coffee, his tea.
Awesome. So we are fans of the read, like Kid
Okay.
Fury, Crystal. And so we've always been like, we could do that.
Right.
We could do
Right,
that.
yeah.
And so we had talked about it for a long time, and it just never came into fruition. And so this year, like the emergence of Milwaukee Black Podcasts have been
Right,
blowing up.
yeah.
And I think that we were just like, we're going to just do one. Let's
Right.
see if people like it. And it ended up being,
Fun.
Well
Yeah,
received.
it was really
Awesome.
fun. Yeah.
it's been a lot of fun. I think
It
that
has.
we just have natural chemistry. So it feels like we just on the phone like, dude, did you hear?
Yes.
Right.
Right. That's
Yeah.
us.
And that's kind of what it sounds like, too.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so here at Brunch with Besties, we always start with the toast.
Okay.
So I'm going to go around the table. We'll start with Chanel. Who are you toasting to today?
I'm gonna toast. Well, okay. So today is apparently, in air quotes, National Podcast Day.
I saw that.
So just giving a toast to all the podcasts, all the Milwaukee podcasts, all the podcasts we listen to, the celebrity podcasts, and some of my favorite celebrity podcasts are obviously Insecurity with Crystal and Fran.
Yes.
Lip Service with Angela Yee is another one of my favorite ones.
I like her.
And all the Milwaukee pods, I mean, I can name them all, but it's a bunch of them. So all y'all Milwaukee pods, we love y'all. We listen. Thank you. As well as our Houston friends, Egos and Opinions, and Two Rios in the pod, so Live Woke. And then all the Milwaukee ones, 72 and 10, Sweats and Suits, DTP, The Evolving Chair, Her Coffee, His Tea, excuse me. Just everybody. I feel like I'm missing 20-something series, the
Technical File,
the Urban Mogul Lounge.
Plenty
Who else?
podcasts.
Plenty.
Yes.
Plenty there are plenty
and
of
as we
podcasts.
speak, there are probably more.
There are
So-
more. So if I missed any of it, don't be mad. But we are definitely listening. Our phones are full of podcasts and everything. So yay, it's National Podcast Day. And shout out to us. Toast to us.
Yes.
Brunch with
Yes,
Besties.
Brunch with
So,
Besties.
Brunch with
Yeah.
Besties.
Episode 9.
yes,
Episode
we
nine.
getting there. We
Yeah,
are getting
y'all
there.
had some episodes. Boy.
Oh.
I had some episodes. I was like, whoa.
So yeah, that's my toast to all the pods, all us Podern family people.
Modern Family.
Podern family.
All right, Miss Bridget, who are you toasting to today?
I am toasting Brunch with Besties.
Oh,
I
thank
am
you.
really excited to be, again, first guest appearance. So
Right.
we was late, though, so we was real black
We
people
sorry.
stuff.
We are.
And
And
it
she
was-
was driving slow on the highway. So I'm like,
Now we get the tea. Come
Right.
on.
Yeah,
behind
go
this
ahead.
truck.
We getting the tea.
Get over
We getting
it.
the tea. It's all good. We just y'all gonna have to Venmo Dooch the fee. Okay.
We got you, bitch. We got you.
But I have
just
been
kidding.
listening since the very beginning. I think I told Major before, like, I feel like I've known y'all since y'all been, like,
You have.
Yes.
You
Yes.
have.
Oh my God.
Probably
yes.
younger. Yeah, you have.
Yeah, that's
So
half our lives. child.
right?
So I feel like they are my babies. So
Aw.
I'm really excited to hear them. The show itself has been really cool. I think that you guys have touched on some really, really
Yes.
important conversations. I really like the blended family show.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
Aw.
I
So
wanted
shouts
a
out to
camera
y'all.
in here for that episode. I was like, what she just said? I had to rewind it. What she just said?
But I think it's honest, and it still feels like, girlfriends sitting around talking, but then about issues that I think that people probably don't bring light to enough.
Right.
So toast to y'all.
Yay. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. We're gonna skip me real quick. I'll go last, and we'll go ahead to Major. Who are you
Okay.
toasting to?
So I thought about this, and I was like, what would I toast to? You know what? Actually, let me toast to my first year Allied health and nursing students at MATC.
Oh, sweet.
Shouts out to the students.
So these are my students who have just got accepted into their programs and are starting the technical courses and clinicals this fall semester. And so at first, they were walking around with deer in headlights and coming to see me all the time. And so most of them have had at least one exam out of the way. And they've really just been handling it and doing it. And we are right now sitting at like a 98% retention for them.
That's awesome.
We only lost like maybe one or two, and those were for health reasons. And so they are really enjoying it, and so I'm excited to just see them flourish. And my toast is to them.
Awesome. Yay. Way to go, students. Keep going.
Yeah.
You can do it.
Yes.
Awesome.
And my toast is to the Milwaukee Podcast Festival coming up.
Awesome.
Oh, yeah.
So it will be on Saturday, October 28th at 3 p.m. with Andrew Schultz and Charlemagne the God, the Brilliant Idiots. Technical File will be there. Don't Take It Personal podcast, Egos and Opinions, 20-something series, the Milwaukee Business Journal, Sweats and Suits, 72 and 10. And also the Evolving Chair. So shouts out to our bestie,
Yes,
Lakeisha.
our bestie will be there.
So we will all be there, and we hope to see you guys there as well.
Yes, get your tickets, because if Brilliant Idiots is promoting it as well and you don't get a ticket, don't be mad. Like, you already don't
Stand
be
outside.
right. You're gonna be standing outside trying to figure out how to get in. So don't do that. Okay?
All right, so let's go ahead and break bread. Chanel, what's going on, girl?
I'm just ready for Lorenz Tate tonight. So
Yes.
that's all I've been thinking about.
Yes,
So I came to recording today looking a hot mess because I'm like, I need to save all my makeup energy powers for later.
blend, honey.
blend,
Blend,
beauty blender. I'm gonna be all in there, like. So I'm ready. So I will be there 15 minutes early so I can see Bay, because he's he's everything. So yeah, I'm ready.
All right.
That's so funny. He was in Detroit last night for the National Black NBA Association Conference.
Dang.
And so
You
the
could have
National
went.
Black NBA.
You
How
could
come I
have.
didn't? I have to check my emails and see if I knew about that.
Tell me.
Yeah.
I don't
Right.
know.
my frat brother was like, it was so many women there
I'm
that
sure.
were not MBAs. That was just like, yes, I got an MBA. I went to Henry Ford Community College and I got an MBA. Please, where's
That would
Lorenz
have
at?
been me.
And
Listen, I
it
got a
was-
master's in education, but I'm here, okay?
Right.
And so he was like, he sits on the board for them, and he was like, the whole board was on one side looking like, okay, so all the real NBAs are over here, and all these women are
fake
just
ones.
like, but he said, what was surprising to him was not only did women come out, but the boys
Oh,
came
wow.
out and were like, yes, Lorenz,
All right now, hey.
I would like to chocolate drop you
Listen.
and
Whoa.
all of that. And he was like, what is happening? And so,
Hey,
Well, yeah, he's
he
universal.
fine. I
You know?
mean, he is. So when you that fine, I mean,
Right.
that happens.
It's
So
going down
yeah, it's
tonight.
Women about to be
listen
lined
here.
up.
yes,
Matter
they
of fact,
are.
we're going to have to come early.
We gonna have to be
you
real
want me to come
early.
get you?
Please
I'ma
do.
come get you.
Leave
Okay.
the Waukesha.
Yeah, I am.
real
I'm going to
early.
leave like 2 hours early.
Listen, just come pick
Because
me up.
traffic be sketchy.
It does.
On the 9 to 4,
Listen.
so I'm just going to leave
So
early.
yes, we gotta be there on time.
Okay.
Okay, because we be late everywhere
We do.
else,
We
so
be
but we
extra
gonna be on time.
Oh my gosh, this is gonna be a hilarious night.
Miss Bridget, what's going on with you?
I have been sick this week, so I
you
probably
have.
sound a mess.
I
Cause we
read
live in
your
Milwaukee.
post.
We
Yeah.
live in Milwaukee,
Oh,
and
this
it
weather.
was like 90 degrees at noon, and then it was like 50 degrees at 2, and I got caught up in the middle, and it's been all bad. So I'm preserving my energy for Lorenz.
There we go. See,
So,
priorities.
Watch tonight, she going to be turned up.
on the real.
Look, she all sick
be
right
all
now.
over
Right.
this.
She gonna have some hot toddies.
Like,
Like,
right.
hey, listen,
I'm about to go and knock this out right now.
listen right now.
We're going to be like, who is that on the stage?
Is that Queen Bee? Is that Queen Bee? So that's her.
It has been a struggle week, but yeah, trying to just get over this cold.
Oh, okay.
All right. And Major, what's going on with you?
Not too much. My body is sore. So I've really been working out heavy because we had a men's health fair last week, and there was this trainer there who was 51 years old, and he looked like he could be 30 something.
Oh, wow.
And so we were all like,
Wait a minute.
What's going on? So I've been really hitting it hard this week, and so usually on Fridays I do the hills at the lakefront, but the sun was not agreeing with me, and it's just super dark. So I did the hills at on North Avenue, like when you come around this corner, and I did the stairs too, and the stairs were just different, and so my legs was like, and so today when I went jogging this morning, my legs was like.
No,
We not gonna do so much jogging. Slow it down. Let's do a little brisk walk.
Right.
So just getting myself together, and I am just kind of looking forward to seeing Love Jones, being that rude person saying all the lines.
I think
in the
everybody
theater.
about to be
Listen.
coming to see it for real.
Yeah.
No.
Then don't
it's not
come.
bad.
Listen,
How about
right. You should have already seen
Yeah.
it. That's number one. I mean, this is a cult classic. You should have seen
Yeah.
it. So if you haven't, yes,
It's
because
gonna be a big old talk.
I'm
back.
excited just to see
Yes.
all these different women. I pray for just the makeup guys, that nobody's in there melting. I pray that all y'all hair is slayed to the side. And
in
that y'all
Jesus'
get
name,
y'all
all right,
oppor-
what we doing? In Jesus' name,
y'all just get y'all
Listen.
opportunity to see Lorenz.
Yes.
I know a couple of my frat brothers are like, look,
In Jesus'
everybody can't beat Lorenz, so some of us gonna win too.
Out there choosing.
Right,
Hey, it's that
look.
time. It's cousin season. Listen, be out
You
there.
don't like
choosing.
Hollywood?
Can you also pray that me and Chanel be on time?
Yeah,
In the name
just
of
throw it in the air in Jesus'
Get there.
name.
There it
Listen,
is.
in
Get it.
time.
Get
Yes.
it. Get
'Cause
it.
we be struggling.
Right. And so it is.
There we go. Listen.
And so for me, I'm actually getting ready for a wedding next weekend.
Yeah.
So shouts out to my friend Brianna Renee
Oh,
for getting
congrats.
married. She's going to be tying the knot. So next weekend I will be in Memphis as a
Whoop, whoop.
bridesmaid.
My hometown.
Memphis as a bridesmaid.
Hey.
And shouts out to the dresses because the dresses was cute.
Hey.
I was like, come through.
Come through. Cute bridesmaid
for your
dresses.
girl,
Listen.
right?
Oh,
You know,
I know.
sometimes-
Some.
Yeah.
Listen, take
Exactly.
tons and tons of pictures
Oh, I will.
that
You
you
know-
won't post on the gram.
You right.
okay.
I don't never post. I never post. But you can do a camera roll in the new phone.
Okay, got you. Right, when I get it, we can catch up with UPS. So, yeah.
Okay, so now we're going to switch over to tea time. So today's topic is, can exes be friends?
Can that happen?
Can they? So Bridget and Major, at one time, you guys were one.
Once upon a time.
Once upon a
Once upon
time,
a
yeah,
time.
we were, right. So long ago.
long ago.
So long ago.
Not so long.
So,
Not
okay.
so long, right.
There we
yeah.
go.
And now you guys are friends, real friends.
Yeah.
Yes,
Friends.
real
Friends
friends.
for real.
Almost best friends.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. We're
Like-
very close.
That I can call you whenever, friend.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, for sure.
You get my inside jokes, friend.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm like,
Yeah.
yep.
I
all
need,
that, all
I
that.
need you right now, friend.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
you think about this, friend?
Yeah. yeah.
Listen, look, Sherry got bars. She slowly
Right.
dropping.
Wait, hold on. Speaking of which, pause.
She got her whole list.
This
Girl,
past week, Brunch with Besties, we have a group chat, and everybody did the for the D challenge. We couldn't post it
could right
because we love God, our
Yes.
jobs, our mamas,
right,
and
all
our
that.
grandparents, so we couldn't do it.
Yes.
This
But-
one over here dropped some bars, man.
Listen,
I woke up one morning like,
you gotta text it to us.
Yeah, you gotta share it.
so I'm like brushing my teeth, like, what is she talking about? What is going on?
I felt like I needed to,
Get your bars. Yes, get your bars off. We all had to get our bars
Oh,
off.
Right.
So that's,
You know,
we
when
did
you,
it
when
too.
you feel it in your spirit,
Yes.
you know, you just gotta
It
go
was-
with it.
It just came too. Like,
Yeah,
listen.
it was a good flow.
Yes.
But yeah, so can y'all tell us, how did you guys meet? Take us to the beginning.
Yes.
So Major and I are both in Greek organizations.
Yeah.
And so naturally we met at like a meeting for
It
Greek.
was an MPAC meeting, and so I think I had been here for a little while now, and so our the MPAC meetings at the time were at the frat house, and so me and JT just kind of showed up randomly, like, what is this about? And so
I was having a birthday party, and so I
Yeah.
was inviting people to come out and celebrate with me.
that's right. I
And
forgot
so
about that
Major did not come to the
Oh.
birthday party.
because I was out of town.
Were you looking for Major to come?
No, actually no, and I'm no shade, but I wasn't.
Yeah.
he ended up inboxing me, slid in the DMs.
I did.
And was like, I missed the party. Can I take you for a drink? And I was kind of like, wow.
Yeah.
Play up.
All right. Okay.
I did.
Well, I mean, I like to drink. So.
I do not turn down free drinks. It's really cool. So we ended up having a conversation. He was new to Milwaukee, and so it was kind of like, I never met you, and who are you?
Yeah.
And to be quite honest, he let me know that he was on some, I'm not trying to be out here with my business in the street, and we could, be on the slide and date on the duck off. And I was like, no.
Yeah.
Right, what?
I was straight, like.
He was like, I don't really date publicly. I don't really go to public places. And I'm like, what? So absolutely not. And so we kind of stopped talking for a while.
Yeah.
And then he hit me back with like some, excuse me, okay, I'll take you to Elsa's. I was like, what?
Because for some reason, when I moved up here, everybody was like, yeah, you go to Elsa's. And I was like, what?
Oh, that was a spot.
So I feel like that's the way to say, like, okay, you could be public at
Right,
this place.
at this
Right.
place.
I was like,
But Major is just hilariously funny. And so I think that that allowed us just to keep talking.
Yeah.
And we were texting for a while. And then we started hanging out.
yeah. I can remember I was out somewhere with the bros, and so you and I think your sorors were at Total Game. And honestly, that was my first time at Total Game. And I had came up there, and I think I had bought you a drink. And I think you were already tipsy, and I was already tipsy. And I don't know what happened, but I ended up kissing you.
In my mouth.
Yes, I did. At the bar.
In the mouth.
At the bar. Like, for
In
real.
public.
In front of her sorors.
In front of everybody.
Yes.
Drunk.
And then I think I just rolled out. And I
And you left?
That was like a
I
drop
know.
the mic.
Right.
pretty much like
We
and
have
it's
been
on.
texting, when you
Yeah.
you send us a text message. And so I'm like, if you bought it, come up here.
Oh.
Yeah.
And he came. And I was like, oh, wait. Oh,
Wait
from
a
Memphis.
minute. Pineapple. Right. I wasn't ready.
I wasn't ready either.
I'm from
But I
Memphis,
think
so
that,
I was like, let's do it.
So, in fairness, it started out as this what we own.
Yeah,
That's
some
how
definitely
it was
kicking it
it was
shit.
the hookup. It was
It was some
kicking
hookup.
it. But I think that for me, at least, I wasn't really looking for a relationship.
Yeah.
And so I was like, this could work until, we figure it out.
Yeah.
And it just, I think it grew beyond that.
It did.
And so, interesting enough, I feel like it was Major that was like, no, we ain't just hooking up.
Right.
This might be
So,
something else.
Bridget put up with some things. So when I used to get like really, really tipsy and drunk, I would invite Bridget over, and then by the time she got there, I would be asleep, and so she couldn't even get into my building, and so she would show up, and I remember waking up on my couch usually, and I would see her text message like, "I'm outside. Are you asleep? I'm leaving," and. I think I did that to her twice. And so that was definitely, I knew I had to make up for that. But
Yeah.
yeah. But we had great conversations like after the sex, and I think I really just enjoyed that. And so there was a moment that I wanted to see her, and she texted me back like, well, I'm on my period. And I was like,
It's not true.
it was, because I was like,
No.
I don't want to.
No.
Wait, Bridget
We ain't
came up
gotta
out of
do
that
nothing.
code
She
real fast.
really did. She
Wait.
was like, what?
I felt like it was
Wait.
like, we don't have to do sex. We don't have to have sex.
Time out.
Is there a pause? Or
Time
is there
out.
a director's cut?
What happened?
You gotta say pineapple.
not what
Pineapple.
You gotta say, dude, edit this out.
Was that not what happened? I don't know.
Okay, so Bridget, what's your take on that? Or what? What
So
do you
again,
recall?
We were hooking up, and so usually, if I came over, that's what
Right.
happened. And so he invited me over one night, and I was not available. And so I was like, no, I'm not going to come. And so I think that he was like, damn, like, what happened? And so the next day, you were like, why didn't you come? And I was just like, no, I wasn't really. And so he, being Major, was like, what was you on, yo? And I'm like, damn, yes, but we didn't have to say all that. But it was interesting because he was like, dude, like, that's not the only reason why I call you. And so it was like, it started the conversation like, this
Yeah.
is not just sex.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, man, you might like me for real.
Yeah. And I think me and Bridget just used to have random Saturday adventures. So I'm a morning person. So I would get up early on Saturday. And I'd be like, what you doing? And I was like, you want me to bring you some Starbucks? And so she was like, yeah. And so I
At
was like,
8 a.m., y'all. Like, not.
yeah.
Not
And so I would be
cute,
like, just get in the car. and we would just spend
The whole day.
together, just like driving around, exploring different places, going to the lakefront, going to like little stores and stuff downtown. Like, it was cool.
Major is like a really good dater. So he's in terms of being creative. Like, so it's always like, let's do something different. And so I think that we just spent a lot of time together
We
for like
did.
the first couple months.
Yeah. Yeah, it was cool.
So then when did it get to the point where it was like, you know what, we gonna put a title on this thing?
So September is Take Your Man on a Date. And
Is it?
Is
I'm learning
it right?
all type of
like what?
I posted that on Singles in the City on our Instagram page, and yeah.
So it's like a fake holiday.
A fake,
or
there we
whatever.
go.
Yeah, because I didn't know nothing about this.
But because he had been doing so many dates, I'm like, you know what? Let me treat you this time. And so went all out, and we did the Sybaris.
In the Mequon.
Get it in the back one.
But it was like, we had a good time.
Oh,
So
okay.
by the end of the night, he was like, you about to be girlfriend. That's not what happened?
What
Is that
happened,
what
Major?
happened?
I have a little different thing
Okay,
going on.
what happened?
I felt like we were at the restaurant taking shots, and we were playing truth, take shots, and then you took a shot and was like, I want to be your girlfriend. And
Maybe I was drunk. I don't
yeah, and so you were,
I don't recall.
you were. And so you were like,
I don't recall.
want to be your girlfriend. Like, I want to be your girlfriend. And I was like, come on, I like how we got it. And then you were like, no, I want to be your girlfriend. And so, just truth moment, I was, even though we had a great relationship, I still was messing around with other women. And so,
And in fairness, I knew.
yeah. And so, I didn't want to do that. And then I was thinking, like, probably by the end of the night, I was like, I don't want to lose this either. Like, I don't want to lose this. And so,
Yeah. So we agree on the date.
yeah.
There we go.
So, yeah, I was like, let's do it then. And so, even though we were official, I don't think, no. Okay. So, yeah, we were official, but officially, I don't think nobody really knew we kicked it until I posted a picture that we took. We were at our Louis Adams, my fraternity Louis Adams back to school drive, and so I was like, "Come here, let's take a picture." And I remember posting it on Instagram,
And I was like,
in my Tony Tone voice, just me and you.
do people do that?
Yeah, and so I remember posting that, and literally at that same fair, there were like at least 2 other women I was sleeping with. And so I remember them like,
Player.
you didn't post my mother. Like, it was like I was getting some cheese. So, yeah, then fast forward to Take Your Man Out on a Date. I was just kind of like, yeah, I don't want to risk this. So we did.
We became official.
We became official.
So then what changed once y'all became official?
Major did not change.
I did not.
So that
I
the
was,
problem.
You still.
yeah, I was still sleeping around.
You was
Like,
out
you
here.
know, and shout out to not shout out, but
Wait, dude.
Right, edit that up here. Because we ain't shouting out no side pieces now.
So,
We don't do that
not
on
today.
Brunch with Besties.
not to take anything away
Listen.
from the other women that I was messing with.
Be careful. Be careful.
Listen.
They didn't know that me and Bridget, I think, were official for real. And so I
But
started.
why didn't you tell them?
Because I wanted my cake and eat it too.
There we
At that
go.
time, I was very
All right.
selfish. I was horribly selfish.
Okay.
And so I wanted my cake and eat it too. And so, yeah. I think I had probably like a three rotation, and then it was Bridget. And so I think only one of them kind of felt like it was more than sex. The other 2 just knew it was sex. So, yeah.
Gotcha. You had a, little
And-
rotation.
But the rotation, what's stupid was the rotation was in our circle. So,
I'm sitting at the table with
Yeah.
women that he slept with.
Yeah, and
no.
So then at the time, let's pause. So
Okay.
then, Bridget, so you're sitting at the table with other women that Major has been with. Did you know that at the time?
So when we were kind of just kicking it, I knew about women that he had been with, or whatever. I think that probably like one of the main girls that you were dating, he broke it off with her. So collected her stuff and was like, I'm on something else.
Yeah.
So I felt like by the time that we were like, we're official, that he had made it up in his mind that he was going to do something different. I think that as the weeks went on, I was seeing him just be, still being dishonest. I was, catching lies. And I'm like, why are we lying? And so it was situations where, I would just blatantly ask, are you doing stuff? And he was like, listen. And so I think that just being honest, he was messing around and I was very forgiving.
Yes.
Which, in retrospect, was probably the worst thing to do.
Yeah. I think we talked about this before. The Bridget now is very much stronger than the Bridget I dated. So this Bridget always holds me accountable to stuff, as we are really like almost best friends.
Right.
Like, when something's foul, or if I do something, or if I say I was going to do something I didn't, or I fell through on something, like, she holds me accountable. Whereas in our relationship, no, she wasn't. And I would say this also with dealing with that. There were times, like, Bridget has very strong friends. Like, her circle, the crew, like, they would be everywhere. And I would be just on some bullshit. And they would catch me on it. Like, they would...
Shouts out to
I would
Bridget's
be out
crew.
there.
I'm just
Like, seriously, because, like, they would catch pictures of me
Ooh,
out. And
yes.
I mean,
And
like,
let me tell you
15
something about that.
15 minutes later, I would get a text message like, so what you doing? And I'm like, man, I'm hanging with the bruh. And then I would get the screenshot like,
Sounds like my crew.
like,
Yes,
Maybe
y'all.
on
this
it.
ain't the bruhs. And so, yeah.
I think what was probably should have been awake. My girls hated him.
Oh,
So like
okay.
they like, no ma'am. And to the point where they were like blatantly disrespectful. Like
Yeah.
you can't even sit next to her here. And I'm like, don't be like, and I
Yeah.
felt like I was trapped in the middle of like, y'all my friends, this my man. They like, no, he is not your man.
Right.
And so
And I mean, even with my friends, like my frat brothers were like, I'd be like, man, y'all come on over to Britain. No, for what, nigga? Like, you cheating. Like, what you talking about?
Oh, so even they were like, what?
Shouts out to the bros.
Yeah,
I didn't know that bros held each other accountable. Hold on.
Yeah, yeah.
This is new information.
Listen.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we definitely do, but I think birds of a feather flock together. So we
Yes.
was all
Listen.
we was all on some bull.
Listen
So
here.
like, wasn't no group dates, and so I can remember the thing with Bridget too was Bridget was very public about us and situations, and so there would be times where I would hear about an argument that I didn't even know we were having from other people. Like, man, what's wrong with you and Bridget? I was like, why you say that? You didn't see that status? And so there was an instant that Bridget's LS came to town and she wanted us to do a group date. I hate Elsers. I'm just gonna be out there. I'm not a fan of it. I just don't. Once I learned the history of it, I'm not a fan of it. And so, being on some fuckboy shit, I was like, I don't want to do no group dates. I don't know her. I don't know him. And so, Bridget was like, whatever. And so I was like, okay, cool. I left. Went to the fry house. Like, it's Friday, and there was an outfit that she had that she knew. I was like, when she tried it on in front of me, I was like, you ain't wearing that nowhere. What is that? Heck no. And so it was just a very single lady.
That means she was bad.
She had
Yeah.
on,
It was a bad dress.
It was a
like,
freakum
it was
dress.
a freakum
Yeah,
dress. It was a very
freakum
freakum dress. And so
Jazzy Ray Richard.
All right. Shout out
put
to
it
Jazzy
on.
Ray. Yes.
posted it and said something like, I'm on my own ish tonight and this and that. And so,
As she should have.
again, I'm not a social media person like that, but my friend brother saw it and was like, bruh, what is going on? Now, mind you, I'm kicking it with my bros. We at the fry house. I'm tipsy, thinking like, this is going to be just a night of kicking it. I see this picture. I knew exactly where she was. And so, I pulled one of them, like, Martin Lawrence, like, crazy deranged, where I pulled up to... I parked in the handicap parking lot.
You
left the
popped
car
out
running.
And Elsa's, like, it was
Clowning.
her and them two. And I don't even think I spoke to them. I was like, what you doing? I was like, yeah, we need to cash out right now. Where you going? You
But that
going
was
home?
the thing. So, like, even though Major was doing his own dirt, it was like, I'll
But
be
you could,
damn if
right,
you do some dirt.
right.
And so I think
Yeah.
that definitely an
selfish.
imbalance.
I was selfish. Yeah.
You know, not to put all the business out there, but like Major, like flew a girl in town while we were dating, and I think that I knew that I was like definitely like
that was the straw that broke the camel's back.
I wish y'all could see Major because he just hung his head in shame and said, "Oh God."
But this is when I knew like this is a toxic, unhealthy relationship. So he like, she just my friend. She coming into town. It ain't nothing. And so I remember obviously feeling away, and then I went to his apartment. Like I knew she was there. I went to the apartment. And in my mind, I'm like, he about to die. And I felt like he was going to die.
Me too.
Wait, he was going to die or you were going to?
He was going to die.
Okay.
I had a brick.
Listen.
I planned to do that. Like, I remember being so angry. So my girlfriend was like, you never roll up on somebody by yourself. That night, I went by myself. I think I was, like, just fed up.
Yeah.
Like, you still doing this?
Yeah.
And so normally, if you know, Major is very... a free spirit. He keeps his door unlocked and whatever. This particular night was locked.
Yes.
And so I knocked on the door. First of all, he had a locked lobby. And so the neighbors knew something was going on.
Right. I hated my neighbors. They would always let women in.
Yes, they were like catching you up.
They would always let women in. I'd be like, look, man.
So I get to the door, I knock, and Major opens the door, and I just...
Scared as hell.
It was like one of those, like...
I wish y'all could see Dude.
Dude's like,
Is this bringing up some things?
Like, I was like, I'm
Dude's
about
just
to
like,
boo-boo on
black
myself.
men don't cheat, so I don't know where this information is coming from.
I was like, I'm about to boo-boo on myself.
If
Like,
you get one, like, day to be... I was completely out of my element.
I was scared.
Women,
She was
we have
scared.
them. We all have our one time where
Yes.
we just did something
But if there
completely
was
out of pocket.
completely
A
crazy.
snap moment, it was a snap moment. So, like, if the girl had said... If she breathed...
She would have been dead.
Yeah.
And so I think she realized that wasn't the moment.
Yeah,
she
she was
wanted to take.
scared. I was scared. Like,
So we were like, that was about to be like the end of it.
Yeah.
So I feel like Major was like, again,
Yeah.
okay, I'm tripping. Let's not, So he definitely came back and backpedaled and sent the girl. I feel kind of bad because he kind of.
yeah, I sent her home early. Like, I sent her on
Dude
the
canceled the
Greyhound.
trip.
Sent her on the Greyhound. Like, for real.
Effective immediately. The visit is over.
Yeah.
But it was like from that moment on, it got better. And so.
That went into like Thanksgiving holiday and Christmas holiday, and I think we were like really inseparable.
Like, damn near living together.
Yeah.
Like, so now I have children, and so Major is all a part of the family. We inviting family over for
babies.
the holidays.
Yeah.
And we had got to a point where we were like, we should just live together.
Yes.
And so ended up going like house shopping and taking the kids and really, really invested and signed a lease.
Yeah.
Signed a lease and had plans to be a family, I guess.
Yeah.
And so one night we were getting ready for bed, and Major was like, I don't think I could do this. And so I was like, what, go to sleep? I don't know. Because if you would have asked me would that happen, I would have been like, absolutely not. And so I'm like, you can't do what? And he was like, I don't think I can be in a committed relationship.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just think that, like, the worst shit ever.
Yeah.
The worst shit ever. So
It was bad. It was bad.
So,
So
what
it ended
was
bad.
going in your mind, Major? Like, you signed a lease, you house shopping,
We
you're
going to church
functioning as
together.
a blended
Yeah.
family,
We
leading
at
family,
church praying.
praying together,
honestly,
inviting God in.
it probably was God that was just like, come on now. Because even during these times, I still had somebody I was sleeping with. Somebody else I was sleeping with.
So it wasn't, you felt like this isn't right.
Yeah, I'm just
I'm
like,
not being honest.
I'm not being honest. And I was just like, I'm not going to be faithful in this situation. And moving in together, again, being selfish, I was thinking, okay, how can I cheat? Like,
How?
Where's
what's
she
the
gonna-
other
where I'm
place?
gonna put
Where I'm
her?
gonna put it?
Wow.
Where I'm gonna take her to?
You said, what
Well,
kind
not-
of furniture we gonna buy, but how can I still cheat?
Like, I was like, okay.
Listen, she got a key this time. I
So
mean,
like
The kids
to the
gonna
point
be there?
where
Like, it's
I was with
hard.
my boys, like, okay, look, who got an extra room?
Oh, my goodness.
Like, I need a key to the frat house, like just some old fuck boy to the
Absolutely.
so
apartment.
why did you still feel the need to cheat?
cheat.
I was selfish. and I just liked the variety of sex. So our sex was great, but you know, I wanted to see what that be like too. And so just a whore, you know, being a whore, just being open. And I think too, during that time, women was just like very freely with like, hey, what's up?
Really?
And I mean, there were some women that I had slept with that knew about Bridget, because I wasn't very public about our relationship, but she was. And so
That's crazy. Hey,
they
sis,
were like-
don't. Come
Yeah.
on, y'all.
Yeah, I think that's what caused like probably the most problem, because it wasn't that people didn't know we were together.
yeah,
And so, you know, I was the crazy girlfriend going through phones. And I mean, I would see messages where they like, are you with Bridget? And he like, yeah, what's up? Okay, I'm going to come over. Like, just blatantly,
yeah,
That's crazy.
where, you know,
Yeah.
women I see today definitely can't get the time of day from me, because it's like, that's just dirty.
Yeah.
But,
That's
you know, for everything that happened, and, you know, Major being the fuckboy that he was.
and I own that. I definitely own
I still
that.
say that, like, none of that could have happened if I didn't allow that to happen. So I think that, like, I don't feel like the victim, like, damn, he cheated on, like, I was forgiving, I was accepting, I knew what was happening oftentimes, intuition was clear, but I really loved him at the time, and so I felt like it'll work itself out. Especially, I'm thinking we going to church on Sunday, we having dinner like, I felt like eventually this shit will just fall off. But I hold myself accountable because I knew what I was allowing. I feel like nobody can do anything to you that you don't let them do. And so I continued to open up the window for him to be on that bullshit. But by the time we, you know, got to that moment of like, he didn't want to be committed, I think that it was a really dark period, because I was like, clearly I have missed some shit. And so I think that we really, it definitely wasn't a friendship in the beginning.
No.
I blocked, deleted,
Yes,
don't speak to me in public.
Yeah,
It was bad.
Because I think I stopped going to church.
Yes.
Yeah, it was bad. It was a definitely dark time for us. And for me, it was hard because as soon as like that happened, of course, like that first month, even that weekend, what initially started this too was an argument. Because I asked her, I said, are we doing something this weekend? If not, then I'm going to Lake Geneva.
Like you started that argument on purpose.
I did. I started it on purpose because I wanted to go to Lake Geneva for the Q's ski trip. And
So he intentionally picked a fight.
yeah,
to
and
create
so
drama.
to create drama. And I remember like afterwards, like being in the bed, and she was like, "You have to leave," and I was like, "It's like 2:00 in the morning."
Packed up all your shit.
Yeah,
and you
packed
had to
up,
go
and I had to leave immediately. And so I remember it probably was like 11:30. I went to the bar and met up with somebody that night, and just on some
I'm still
trifling stuff.
How Sway? Because I feel like I just be out here single and I don't get this. I don't understand.
So it was just a very like I said, a selfish period. So like the first month was like, oh yeah, it's all good, you know, I'm kicking in, back, bringing the rotation back around.
Oh my
but
goodness,
what
Major.
happened was, God was like, okay, so I can't whoop your butt that way. I'm gonna whoop your butt another way. And so all of a sudden, this perfect job that I had just started to become more and more toxic and horrible and just stressing me out. And I was just not, I was doing everything I could and just was not able to see eye to eye with my supervisor. And I was directly being blamed for layoffs that were about to happen at the institution I was at. And so I knew that was God. Just saying like, look, you know, I know your social life is, I know where your passion is.
Right. Oh,
I know
There's
where your
that word
so,
again.
So let me get where
Mama,
you
there's
know,
that
let
word.
me get that passion.
Right.
And so I know that working in higher education, and this is your passion.
Yeah.
And so if I can make this uncomfortable for you, then
Then
you're
I
gonna
can wake
really
you up. Yeah.
you're gonna wake up and you're gonna start talking to me for real. And so with that, I didn't have nobody I could really confide to because Bridget was my confider. And then because of our situation, I wasn't going to church. So I couldn't even have that relationship, you know, at church with God. And so it was like putting me in a situation where I was by myself. And that was one of the main reasons that I probably was such a whore is I hated being alone by myself. with my own thoughts.
Okay.
And so I always felt like I wanted some company. And so I wanted the company of a woman. And this put me in a situation where I was just by myself with God, and he like tearing into me. And so it got to the point where I owned my shit. Bridget posted about the bullshit. And it was just like, okay, rather than man up, do what's right, I was like, I'm about to leave. And so I moved to South Bend. I moved to South Bend, Indiana. I took a job. I chased money. And so I went and became a campus director of a proprietary school. And I think at that point, we were able to make some type of...
I think for me it was that Major and I have been connected in so many circles. Like there was nowhere I could go where he wasn't involved or like... And so I didn't want to be like the bitter ex-girlfriend sitting at the table, me mugging him and his friends. And so I think that my prayer was, God, just give me peace with this. And so even if it made me look weak by forgiving him, I still was like, I need to be able to not be uncomfortable when I go out. Like I can't be Bridget and have beef with somebody. I don't be none of that.
Right.
And so I think that, you know, we weren't really cool, but it was enough where we can be cordial.
Yeah.
And so I remember when his job was falling apart, you know, I give people employment advice, and he was like, I really want to take this job. And I actually felt like that was good. Like, if you leave Milwaukee,
Yeah.
life will be good.
Right.
Right, yeah.
Shouts out to God.
Right. Listen.
Move away, Lord. Move
Won't
away.
he do it? Won't he do it?
So Major moved away, and I think that it just opened up the door for us to start being friendly again.
Yeah.
So, you know, it was like hearing about like him moving, this new job. I think Glide was a thing then.
Yeah.
So we was like gliding every morning, every
Yeah.
night. And then he was like, he invited me to come down for a wedding. Your friend was getting married.
Yeah.
And so I was like, what does this mean?
Right.
And so I think, you know, in my female head, I was like, okay, this could be the closure. This first time and probably only time I drove like 5 hours for somebody. But I think the weekend wasn't like a let's make up. It really was like a closure conversation
it was.
that we had. I think we spent time just like, we are not good together, but let's try to be friends.
Yeah.
But when you try to mix friends and sex, it still complicates emotions.
Definitely.
It still makes it weird. So I left South Bend, but we were still kind of talking and hanging out. And then he invited me and the kids down for like I don't know.
It was the weekend before their school started.
So he like, bring the kids down. So definitely, retrospect, bad decision. I probably should not have done that because, again, the kids had already been impacted by the breakup and the we about to move and now we ain't about to move. But me and the kids went back down. And so this was the first time that Major introduced me to his son. And so Major has a son that lives in Kentucky. And, you know, I know that he's a big part of his life, but he had never introduced me to him. So we drove to his son's football game. Yeah. And I felt like this means something. Like, if he introduced me to his son, it must be something. And so I remember it had been a really good weekend. But by the time we got back home, Major was gliding me that he had a girlfriend in Chicago.
No, I had started dating her. I don't think we were official at that
time. The secretary was the girlfriend.
So she ended up being the girlfriend, yes.
Another jab. Another horrible jab.
But I don't know. I think we can agree to disagree on that.
What are we disagreeing about?
That I didn't glide you and say that just right after that weekend.
It was very shortly after.
Maybe like a month.
That's not true.
Maybe a month. Okay.
Whatever.
Anyways, I started dating.
There we go.
A young lady in Chicago, and
secretary.
She was an administrative assistant at so
clerical.
Before I moved to South Bend, I got offered a job in Chicago, and so again, look at God. That job, I got offered it, I accepted it, and then the board was like, "No, we don't even want this job. We're not even gonna do this position." And so that's how I ended up in South Bend. And so again, that was great too, because I had already lived in South Bend for 4 years, and so I had a second mom there that I call my second mom, and she's like more of my spiritual mother than my birth mother, and it was me getting back to God, and so in doing so, again, still you tell God your plans, He gonna laugh. And so what happened was I was like, okay, God, I probably need to get into like a stable relationship again, and so started dating Bree, her name's not secretary, and
just drop a name. I mean, if you want a name drop, go right ahead.
That's cool. And so she, of course, I think it kind of put a little stiff between me and Bridget, but
kind of. No, you was back on the blacklist.
Was we back on the blacklist?
Yes.
Okay, so
that would have definitely gotten you blocked.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so again, Bridget knows me, and so she's like, I remember her gliding me. Was like, this bitch ain't even gonna be around after 2 months, Major. What the
Major is a serial dater. I mean, if Major likes the company of a woman, but he doesn't like the responsibility of a commitment. And so I still say, and this is like, years later, I don't think that anybody makes it past 90 days.
That is so unfair, I feel like.
You want me to give you
But
the
is
numbers?
it true?
But is it true?
No.
You want me to list them?
So
Please.
you dated women
We're not going to list them, but
longer
again,
than 90 days?
So
Have I what?
really
Have you
angry.
been with a woman longer than 90 days?
I think Bridget's probably been my longest, because it was like, what?
How
9
long were
months.
How much?
9 months.
you always saying? So
9
that was
months.
your longest relationship was 9 months.
Yeah. So Bridget has been my longest relationship.
You
And
are a serial dater.
I think I have only had one monogamous relationship. So
Wow.
yeah.
So I think that, again, he doing, and I was angry, but I was angry at myself again, because it was like, girl, you know what this is. So my girlfriends are like, we not about to have this conversation, because we told you. And so I think that I was in a place where it was just like, you keep putting yourself in this position, so feel how you want to feel, but you did this. So Major's job in South Bend fell through.
Yeah, like
And so
closed one day. They came in and closed the campus, and I'm like, okay,
dang.
guys, you got my attention.
Right. Wait.
okay. And so
You start tithing and everything.
man, tithing,
All
praying, like I don't think I've ever, as an adult,
Fasting.
cried as much
Yeah.
as I did during that time, because I was in a space I'd never been before. So it was like a month and a half of
Not working.
and I've
Yeah.
never not had a job.
That'll break you down.
I feel you.
Yeah.
Like I
Yes,
felt the
that's-
vulnerability.
yeah.
Like, so however we start talking again,
Yeah.
like I felt bad for him. I did. I felt bad for him. And so I know
I do right now.
Right. Yeah.
This is old stuff. I feel
Absolutely.
bad.
And I know, living in North Carolina is kind of how I felt too. So yeah.
It was I was vulnerable. I was humbled, and Bridget helped me through that period. And I think at that point we really started being like genuine friends. And I think that was at the point too where Bridget was very strong, and so it wasn't no pity party from Bridget. Like, she would give me some advice, but it was like, okay, bye. And so I think there were moments where I was wanting to get back in, and Bridget was like, no. And so I needed that too.
Absolutely.
And so eventually, God brought me back to Milwaukee, maybe a couple months later, and just still a humbling experience, because I went to MATC and just started from scratch. Whereas I went from being a campus director to being like a part-time specialist. And so that was humbling. And I knew when I came back here, my pastor told me something that was very critical. He said, because I started working for him at MATC, and he was like, remember that one day when I tried to counsel you and Bridget, and I said, above everything, your integrity as a man is what will count in the end. And so he called Bridget.
He asked my pastor.
He asked her.
So, Major's moving back to Milwaukee. And I'm like, I know. He was like, so he probably shouldn't come back to this church to worship. And I was like, absolutely not. Or I'm leaving. And then he said he applied for a job. Would that be uncomfortable for you? And I think it's just more, my pastor had been counseling us. He knew the level of like the heartbreak. And so I feel like my pastor has always been really almost like a dad, like really protective. Like, if this is going to be a problem, let me know. And again, because I love Major, I would never do anything to block his blessings. So I'm like,
I would have. I'd have been like, yeah.
That's petty boots. But I feel you, Bridget. No, I would have been like, okay, I mean,
so,
let's help the brother out.
He took the job.
And my pastor whooped my butt every
But it was nothing
day.
but
Shouts
God
out to
that
the
pushed
pastor.
him to
Yes.
get this, because it was an opportunity for Pastor Lanier. I'm like, can I say his name? To really become a mentor to him. And so it was a great time for y'all to spend together.
And I definitely came back with the mindset that I'm going to do things different. Like, let's kick the whoreism. But again, being, you know, how I was, people don't forget that, you know.
Right.
And so,
Especially women.
when I tried to step out and tried to be social and introduce myself to women, they were like, hold on, didn't you date Bridget? Oh, nigga, no. Like, you are the worst. Get your disgusting self away from me. And so it was humbling, you know. And then so pastor kicking my butt. I'm sad because I can't go to the church that I love, you know, because, you know, Bridget's like, no, he can't come yet. And so, like, I honestly, but again.
He was going to another church. He was like, yeah, worship is different. I was like, well, you know, that's
That's what you did.
That's how it be sometimes.
So it was bad. But it was also great for our friendship. And I think during that time is when I moved back, when we genuinely just was like, there's so many things, so much that we like. So we like the same music. We like podcasts.
It was actually the read that connected us back.
Yeah.
Because he was like, I know you ain't talking to me. I know we ain't cool. He was like, but can we just recap the read on Fridays? I'm like,
that was it. Yeah.
But then I was a sucker. So I was like, yeah, let's talk about it. But we actually, you know, became friends again. There was no sex involved. And there was just like a sense of, I really knew that we had something special. So, like, we definitely had a lot in common. I felt really comfortable with him. He still was connected to my kids. So, my daughter thinks Major is, like, the best thing ever. And I think that it became a situation where it was like, you know, is it possible to, like, love somebody and it not be romantic? And I think that I really began to see Major as, you know, beyond, like a sexual relationship. Like, I just have a respect for him where it's like, he is a part of the family. Like, my daughter has been in, like, she was in a Juneteenth pageant, like, every recital that she danced in, he showed up. And I think that he showed up in a way that says, it ain't about us. This is because I love you and I love the family.
Right.
And I think that, you know, my mom would be like, why is he coming over here? And I'm like, because it's Major. And to the point where people started to expect, like, where Major at? I'm like, on the way. But I think that because we decided, like, the friendship was more important.
Yeah.
And I was willing to say, like, let's just try something different. And people were like,
I don't get it.
Even your friend, like, he wouldn't even get the time of day. And
even my frat brothers were like, nigga, what is going on? So y'all ain't smashed? I'm like, no, we just good friends. We cool.
But there was a lot of judgment. A lot of people were like, you know, ain't no way in hell that nigga could speak to me again. And so I had to be able to be mature enough to say, like, I get it, but this ain't that. Like, we are just, it was something different.
It was.
And I think that I was able to have enough conversations with Major where he really understood what he did to me and the impact that he had on me. And I think that because he allowed me the space to be like, nigga, broke my heart. And I think that he owned it. He didn't shy away from what it was. It was some shit I did not want to know. But he was honest about it. And I think that time healed that wound. And it was, I feel like God was like, you know, everybody comes into your life for a reason and a season. I feel like Major's reason for being in my life was because of our friendship. Like, it wasn't supposed to have been this sexual situation.
Right.
It was to be cool. And I think that we have figured that out.
Yeah, I think so. I would say this, too, with that. So, when I moved back, I probably within like a couple of months, I had gotten into a relationship. And so, again, she side-eyeing or whatever, 90 days. But, so I don't know how Bridget would find out about my dating life because she is so secretive about hers with me. So like she'll be like, so who you dating? And I would be open with like, okay, so I'm dating so and so, and I'm like, well, who you dating? Oh, I'm chilling. I'm not dating anyone. And so
listen,
one of the toughest things I think, and it was something that I needed to be better at, was to not talk about Bridget as much because we're so close and we are such good friends. That would boil over into my relationship. And so the young lady that I was dating was like, I remember one day she was like, can we have one fucking day where you don't mention Bridget in your conversation, please?
I mean, but I am Queen Bee.
And so
Sips tea.
it was just one of those situations where I had to make sure that I respected those boundaries and respected her as my girlfriend and our relationship.
And I remember when Bridget used to, and
Yeah.
Bridget used to do
I was
that.
like, me and Bridget just talked about this. And so I remember me and Bridget went somewhere. And so I had told her like, oh no, me and Bridget gonna go. And she was like, you didn't invite me? And I was like, well, I guess I should have thought about that. So I was a bad boyfriend. That probably was what? That didn't even go 90 days. I think that was like 60.
Yeah.
And so then I did another mess up because sometimes I do mess up. And so I did another mess up and I dated someone that was that risked our friendship. And so again, I apologized about that. And I don't know what I was doing. I was on some.
Yeah, we don't know what you was doing either,
Yeah.
Major. But it's okay. It's all good.
Yeah. So.
All is forgiven now.
And so I think now we just we respect our boundaries. We respect each other's personal life. Even though Bridget she be thinking she's speaking the truth. Like I feel like I go back and forth with the whole relationship thing. Like one day I want to date I want to be in a relationship. And one day I'm just like, no, I'm just working on me. But Bridget, like, if you all ever hear our podcast, she's always like, well, Major is going to give you, girl, 90 days. And so be ready.
Bridget has said that a few times.
Yes, and I'm just
It
like.
sounds that to be true. Like,
And so I told her
I
how.
think he enjoys the company of a woman.
Oh, yeah.
But
I can be with one woman.
Are you single now?
I am.
How long have you been single?
I've been single for a while.
Okay.
Like,
I'm thinking
I'm
you
trying to
need
think.
to hit up the singles in the city because it's very important that you be single.
I do read the blog. I do read the blog.
And just be by yourself.
And I think it's almost like it's been a year.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
I
been
love
a
the
year.
fact that Major is checking with Bridget to see if it has really been a year. Like he's like, it's been a year? Question mark.
Right. Has
And he's looking at Bridget like, has it?
It's been a year, right?
And Bridget is like, it's been 10 months.
Listen, you ain't made it yet.
Right.
But yeah. So I took some time to not
so then
date.
how would you feel if you knew that Bridget was dating?
Bridget has dated.
So okay, and so then what has been your reaction to that? Are you okay with that?
So I'm okay with it unless I know that he's a fuckboy. Because I personally won't let nobody else hurt her the way I did.
Right. So you're
And so
protective.
I am very
friend.
protective of that. Yeah.
Okay.
Because I
Do you
know
meet them?
she doesn't let me.
She doesn't let you meet
Well,
them.
this is the thing. So this last person, she was like, I remember her telling me like, I can't wait till we go official because I'm gonna introduce you and you gonna be like, And I was like, I want to meet them. I do. Like I'm open to her meeting women that I date.
I meet all of the women that you
But
date.
so this is the thing. These last few have been that crazy. So Bridget is very dope. And
Yeah.
so we all know
Shouts
this.
out to Bridget's
Yes,
dopest.
she is amazing.
You know, this is Queen Bee.
Absolutely.
The women that I talk to be like
intimidated.
No, they be
They be
just
crazy.
like
They don't be dope.
enthralled with
But
her.
there was a meme that said that.
women that want to be my best friend. And so I'm like,
Yes, and I
what
be
is wrong
like,
with your girlfriend?
and I'm like, not girlfriends. Don't do that.
Well, listen.
But I
Women
wonder
that I've
if,
dated.
but if they understand the dynamic of your friendship, then maybe they feel like you're the way to win him over. Maybe.
Maybe.
They
No,
may
that's
have,
valid.
but that don't work, clearly.
It feels weird.
Or
though.
maybe they're trying to test you out to see what the friendship really is. Like, oh, well, let me see if she's like still kind of being in there. I think maybe that could be what it is too.
It
Like
feels
they're just trying to
uncomfortable.
test.
I think that just date. Obviously, Milwaukee is what it is, and so I think that Major, is out and he's social, and
I'm
typically
not social.
date.
Stop saying
I
that.
date on the low. Like I think that I would probably never go public with somebody again until like I know he bae.
Come
And
on.
So I've been very
Listen.
selective with. Nobody has met my kids anymore. I think that, and they've grown. But I think that, like, I learned lessons that I'm not going to happen anymore. And so Major is more social. So the women that he dated is like, okay, I'm a friend Bridget on Facebook. And I'm like, is this your girl? Or, like, I'm going to invite her out. And for me, it's like, you can be Major's girlfriend and you can ask me a straight up question like, and I'll be like, girl, no, it ain't even that. But I feel like sometimes it's done to be messy.
Yep, that's what I was thinking.
So I'm like, Major, okay, so why is she called? Like, why is she asking me? Why is she inviting me? And then, Major is not giving anybody a title. So I feel like then they feel away because it's like I'm trying to prove that and I'm like, girl, you can have that. You got 90 days.
Listen.
And they don't get that because once they like do something to Bridget, I'm just like, okay, girl, you have to go.
Yeah,
So
you
it's a
can't
wrap.
make a man do
It's a
something he
wrap.
don't want to do.
It's
So
a
that's
So
101.
my stepdad. So it's always been really a little bit kind of strange because my stepdad and my mother broke up, and I actually remember the day that he left the house, and on his way out, he sat down on the couch and he told my mother, "I understand that we didn't work out, and I'm cool with that, but these are my kids."
Oh yeah.
And she said, okay. And he was like, so promise me that we are going to be a family because I raised them. These are my kids. And he didn't have kids at the time. And so she said, okay, fine. And so then we continued to function as a family. If I had anything I had, he was there. Same thing with my brother. Holidays, we would have dinner, everything as a family, and we still do. And he would have girlfriends. And I remember this one time, I think it was Christmas, the girlfriend was there and he was introducing her to my mother. But the way that he did it, and my mom was a cold piece.
Oh, she is.
Okay.
Yeah. I did see a picture. I was like,
Yes.
that's what they were talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, she good.
Barb is a
She
dime.
get it.
And so he says, this is Barbara, blah, blah, blah. She is my family. She ain't going nowhere. So if you have a problem with it, you can go.
Oh.
And so my mother tells him later, maybe that's not the best way to introduce me. Maybe just a simple hey.
Right. Because you're going to be single forever, and I'm going to be out here on the low.
Right.
That's what Barbara's really saying.
But I think that a lot of women have found her to be like the bar, kind of. Because it's kind of like, hey, she's not going anywhere. If you don't like it, you can go, but she's not. So they kind of felt like, okay, he's vested here. This ain't gonna change, which, don't get me wrong, y'all friendship
Right.
has, like you said, I feel like our purpose was to be friends. So that has been set. The die has been cast. The decision has been made.
Right.
I am going to be friends.
I would say the last girl that I gave the title of girlfriend did try to say it's either me or Bridget. And I think she was
And you
gone.
see where she ended
Yeah, I
up.
think she was gone by I don't know when. So
And then I can be
Yeah.
honest and say, like, I really, I don't feel like vindictive or jealous about Major, having a relationship. I can't say that. I mean, he'll get the corny jokes, but, I'm not trying to be like, you shouldn't talk to her, or I hardly ever have an opinion. The last girl you dated, I encourage you to ask her out. I think that it has to be Major choosing to be mature enough to have that, and that has nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
But I think the women have to be secure enough in themselves that they respect him saying, she's just my friend.
Right.
Yeah.
And surely there should be boundaries. I mean, I think that, Major is involved with my family, so we post pictures of him and the kids.
Yeah.
I don't know that I could be cool with that as a girlfriend. And so I
Right.
think that somebody, had to decide if that's something that they're willing to do.
I don't know. I have had those conversations with women that I've dated, and some have, and some were just like, I think they understand, like how your stepdad said, like, this ain't, if it's between you and the babies, like, it's going to be my princess. It's going to be CJ. So they ain't going nowhere.
Right.
And sometimes, they're like, I want to go here. And I was like, oh, yeah, we're not doing that. I already got plans. So I do still believe that I'll meet a young lady who will. Well, Bridget says that she knows when I start dating somebody because our communication cuts off or it stops as much as we do. And
she start acting funny.
And I don't. I really don't. The thing is, like, I mean, there are situations where, no, the last girlfriend was just, but the girlfriend before her, there were situations where I had to be respectful. You know, once she said, like, can we have a day where you don't talk about what you and Bridget talked about or what you and Bridget did, I had to start, I had to be more mature because I was like, okay, I want to make this work. So let's see what happens. And I didn't cut off communication with Bridget. And I didn't hide Bridget either from her. But I did, like, give her priority on some things.
What you should. I'm
definitely right.
That.
And so I think now I try to date on the low, but I do always give, like, I always ask Bridget's opinion of females, and she always gives it to me straight. And she was like, so yeah. But these last couple of dates, they have just been crazy. So Bridget and me both was like, I need to date out of town. So we'll see what happens. But it's shoot your shot season, so we'll see what happens.
It is.
So what do you guys think have allowed you guys to maintain a successful friendship after a relationship that didn't work out?
I think it takes time. I think that, sometimes people stay connected because they have children or there's something else that, like, forces them to have to be. Me and Major still have, like, so much shit that we do together that I feel like it's impossible not to be connected to him. He's back at church. We have Greek life. We do other projects in the city. And so I think that it took a lot of time to get here. I think that I don't think it's impossible for exes to be friends, but there has to be a level of, like, accountability for this is what happened, this is why it didn't work, and people being able to own, like, I was foul.
Yeah.
Right.
And then, like, I think that at the premise of our friendship, we were friends first, even though it quickly went to the hookup stage, but we were friends first. And so I think that because we kind of laid the foundation that I really like you as a person, and then the sex is just something else that we got going on. I think that we were able to come back to that. And so I think that it's possible, but there has to be a level of respect, and there has to be some boundaries. Like, I obviously date Major dates, and I think that we got to be willing to say, like, yo, you might see me out, or yo, he feels some kind of way. Let's, switch up the way we do something.
Yeah. Definitely being truthful. I think I had to own my shit. So in the beginning, I really didn't. Like, when we really first broke up, I wasn't owning that. I was out here doing dirt. So I had to own it, and I had to publicly own it and say, I was the one that ruined this.
So how did you publicly own it?
When I say publicly own it, not like social media, but like publicly.
Did you make a tell-all post?
No, but
I'm just ready to go back.
No, like, but publicly, like, when people ask, like, what happened with you and Bridget, I had to publicly say, like, I was on some fuck shit.
Okay.
Yeah, right. And so not like say, oh no, man, she was on some other shit. Like, no, I publicly say anytime someone says, like, what happened with you and Bridget as far as a relationship? Oh, I fucked off. Like, I cheated the whole, relationship. And so doing that, and then just holding each other accountable as friends. So, like, if you say you're going to do something. Right. And if you don't, you be prepared to hear about it. And so I think we do that better now. I think we're truthful with each other. Again, like, we do have those boundaries because we both do date. But yeah, so that's it, really.
I think it was important for me to not be concerned with, like, other people's opinions about the decision to be friends. I think that a lot of my friends were really judgmental. Like, I had some girlfriends where I'm like, we got to have an understanding. And I think that it was a decision that I needed to make for myself. And so I felt like my girlfriends, like, loved me enough to get there, but it took some time. But if I allowed my girlfriends to be like, girl, no, absolutely not, we wouldn't have gotten here. But this was me saying, I think it's bigger than that. And it was hard to articulate that sometimes, but it was like, I really feel like there's something that's drawing us together that ain't in relationship, but it's something else.
Yeah, something else, definitely.
But it took time. I would be lying if I said that it was easy or it happened quickly overnight. We haven't been together now almost 3 years.
3 years.
Almost 3 years.
Yeah.
And so it's been a rough 3 years. Like, Major has did some foul stuff.
I have.
But I think when we got to a point where it was like, we really want this to be a healthy relationship.
Right.
You know, we're not, smashing on the side. We're not lying. And then as a woman, I had to be honest with my own emotions. Because sometimes women be like, we just friends.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And then deep down inside, I really love you and really want to, like, I don't see Major like that anymore. Like,
Yeah.
love you, but I don't see him as, like, a man, like, sexually.
What? Like, hold on.
But
What?
I think that sometimes, like, it can be foul because a woman is not being honest. So she's like, yeah,
Yes.
that's just my nigga, that's mine. And then she's like, okay, one day we going to be.
Yeah, right.
Right.
And
Holding
so
on, yeah.
I had to be honest with myself, like, don't set yourself up to be hurt again.
Right.
And then don't put yourself in a situation where this is going to go left. And I think that when I was honest enough to say, like, it's a closed door, it's been really good.
Yeah, it's been great. I think our friendship's been super dope. We talk all the time.
Every day.
Yeah, I
Podcasting
sent her
together.
music. Yeah, so it's been super cool. She does make corny jokes about my dating situation, and I've been making corny jokes lately because she's trying to be this celibate. I think. Yeah, we're not gonna go there.
We are going to go there. Bridget, tell us about this amazing article that we read about your decision of celibacy.
I still think that Major has had lots of relationships since we broke up.
Stop saying
No,
that.
I say that to make a point. I have not been in any relationship, like, for real. Like, I've dated, but nobody has been like, we together. And so I think that I've really taken time to heal and to figure out, like, what things were not good about decisions that I make. So I am, like, working through, like, this was foul, that was a bad decision, that wasn't good. And so a part of it was me being so free with, like, my sex life. Like, I think I was willing to say that we could just be friends and hook up, and that was enough. And I think that even, as I've gotten to this point where I've made the decision, it's like, why does sex have to be kind of the goal? Like, you go out, you meet a dude, it's cool, we hanging out, and then it's like, we gonna smash? And I hate that feeling because then it's like the pressure of, are we really developing something, or is the goal just to smash, and then the next day you like, are we still cool?
Right.
Like, I don't want, like, that is not healthy for me. And I think that I have just experienced dissatisfaction with being in, semi-situationships where it was always about that. And so I think that I just made a decision that was like, how can I date in a healthy way where sex is just off the table? And I'm very spiritual. I know the Bible says don't fornicate. I know what pastors say don't. But this says not really, and if I'm honest, it's not because Jesus said, like, abstain. This is me saying, like, I want to have something with somebody where sex was not the motivator.
Right.
And this is something I've chosen for myself. Do I think I'm going to be celibate forever? No. Do I think that it's going to be difficult to date men who get it and respect it? Probably. But at least for now, I think that this is something that makes sense for me.
I told you I have somebody for you that I think.
I keep telling you to give him.
I am. I'm gonna definitely I'm gonna give him your info because I think he's gonna be someone that respects that. And I was telling Bridget earlier, I went to a young adults ministry and we talked about premarital sex, and so the women were like, we're taught to be celibate and wait for our husband, but how is that working in 2017 as far as dating? And you date these guys and what their expectation is at the end is like, look, okay, I'm gonna go 2 months without it, but you gonna eventually give it up. And they say, they do that because they don't want to be those other women in church who are in their 50s who are stood like on fire for God but lonely.
Right.
Or ain't got no man, ain't doing nothing. And so I told, I said, it's the same thing for men too. I've practiced celibacy twice. And for me, the first time was more of, I was just doing like the most. And so I felt like, oh God, it was just one day I was just convicted at church, and I was like, oof, I gotta get it together.
So then how long were you celibate?
During that time, I think it was like 7 months. Until I really kind of got into a committed relationship with someone. And even then, again, doing it on my eyes and not allowing God to, she wasn't in the church. And so I don't know what attracted me about it, but it was a waste.
And then the second time, how long were you celibate?
The second time it was actually, I want to say almost close to a year. It was right before I moved up here.
Okay.
Originally in 2013.
So what do you think you gained from the celibacy?
Understanding, clarity. It allowed me to focus on other things. So the second time, it really allowed me to heal a relationship with my son.
Okay.
That was kind of strained. And I had previously made decisions where I chose a woman over him. And so this allowed me not to do that and to kind of put my priorities in order. And so I appreciated that time. And I appreciated what we were doing. And I appreciate God taking me through that storm.
Right.
The first time it was hard because, again, I was doing the most. I was like in my mid-20s. The second time I was really like, I might have been 30 or getting ready to turn 30. And so it was more of, okay, I needed some spiritual maturation. And so that's what it took me through that journey. But I know men who are celibate. And I know men who have just turned around. I told her the story about my lying brother who girlfriend had got convicted, gave her life back over to Christ, came back to their apartment and was like, you got to move. You got to leave today. And he moved in with me, and like they weren't doing anything for probably a year and a half before they got married. And so they went from doing everything to like nothing. And so, it's hard. But again, when you are celibate, you allow more clarity for God to enter into the room.
Right.
And so when you allow him to enter in the room, then it's totally different. And so I understand that some women are fearful of it, especially in the church, because you don't want to date the guys at your church for some reason. And so
because they be the worst ones. That's right.
And then like you don't fellowship with other churches for real to where you can see other men. But there are men out there like, and I tell them all the time, like, there are men out there who are on the same thing as women.
Are they in a secret group? Like, where?
I keep saying, like, where do they live at?
Right.
So
Name
this
drop
is the
those
thing.
men.
These men probably are not what you wanted. They're not the total package yet. Yeah. And so I think
want to settle. Like, I think that me being celibate doesn't mean that I have to settle for a lesser man.
And I'm not saying you have to settle, but I think when you're celibate, you allow God to open your eyes and put a different lens on. And so maybe at first glance, you might be like, oh my God, this ain't it. But then when you see the total package, you might be like, you know what? Damn, like, am I that hung up that he's like an 8 and not a 10? Or, that he's maybe not what I thought I was going to be with, but he's everything that I desire. Like, I look at my list and then everything else is checked off. And so I think this gives you an opportunity for God to put a different lens on your eyes and allows you to see something else. So I support Bridget, even though I joke with it. I do support the celibacy. I told her, at this stage of my life, I'm celibacy, not by choice. And so, but again, allow God to just put some different lens on your eyes and allow time. I think, too, a lot of women now in this generation, we're starting to get more into that microwave.
Yeah.
So you say you want to be courted, but do you understand what that means?
Right.
Like a man courting you, back in the old days, that was letters. Yeah. And like they would write letters and then they would come and ask your parents, can they sit on the porch for you for 30 minutes? It's not about like, okay, he gonna take me out on a date here, he gonna take me somewhere here. Right. It's more about, okay, Why don't I get to know you genuinely?
I think the evolution of dating, though, it's obviously it's changed because people are doing things a lot more faster. But I think there's also this sense of like what you're not doing right, somebody else is doing, and so I think that not that women should be comparing themselves to each other, but I think that men have a lot of options. There are a lot of women that are going, and I was going at one point, so I'm not judging. But I think that when men look at the spectrum of like what their options are, you know, if you got 5 women and 4 is like, call me, and the one is like, no, I'm on some, like, she's probably not going to get picked. And so I think that this really becomes a level of like, this is about me and this is not about the goal to get a man. Like, I've been married before, and so I think that puts me in a weird position. I've been married. I don't desire to have any more children. So my goal is different than a lot of my friends who are dating. And so my thing is like, what I create with a man becomes about like, you know, what is it that we want together that's similar, or like, you know, we have the same alignment. And I think that oftentimes people get lost in that when they're like, you know, we just trying to figure out if we have sexual chemistry. I think it has to be more than that.
Yeah,
I think so too, but
And not to say that women don't like sex. I enjoy sex, but I think that I want to fall back a little bit so I can make sure that I'm not clouded by what those emotions bring up.
But again, I think when you talk about dating, I think men sometimes just want to have, and that's why I am creative with dates, because I do want those times where you're not on your phone like every 5-10 minutes. And so
I don't care if you're looking
this
at
one
my
across
butt.
the hall,
Absolutely.
across this
Yeah,
table,
you're
when we
right.
dated, it would be like, and I can remember just like, get off your phone. Like,
That doesn't hurt my feelings. That's accurate.
that's definitely honest. But I think you just want to date and actually be dating and actually be courting, where we both are on the same mission of really just getting to know each other. And so sometimes that don't have to be a date. Like, you can't classify it as a date. If I'm just saying, hey, I just want to get to know you, so let's just have some conversations. And this doesn't have to go anywhere, but I'm interested in you, and I just really want to get to know some things about you better.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree that the best way to get to know people is through conversation.
Yeah, just keep
Because then you
hanging
get to
out.
see where you're aligned.
And then
where
there's
you're
no
not.
expectations. Like, you don't have that feeling of, oh, I don't know, like, what's going to happen. Like, it's just talk, and there's nothing wrong with just doing that.
But shout out to you being celibate.
Yay.
Shouts
Yes,
out to
celibate
you being
sister.
celibate.
Listen, I
Yes.
feel you. All right, we all are.
Yeah, we're all celibate at this
Oh,
table.
okay. Shout out to y'all too.
A seat at the celibate table.
Until Loran show up, right?
Yep.
Well,
Because panties dropping.
listen,
Okay.
on the
No.
stage.
Well, right.
Chanel, are those your panties on the stage?
Listen, they might be.
No, we just playing, Loren.
We kidding.
No,
But we serious. But
Well,
we kidding.
actually, okay. So by the time this air, we'll be. I'm just. I'm just playing. Okay, so let's talk about the to-go box really quick. What are we taking away today? We'll start with Chanel.
Oh, so a lot of gems were tossing. It definitely has me thinking. But I'm going to take away just expectations. I think that was kind of thrown around a lot. I feel like when you're single and you have to have those expectations set for yourself. And to relay those. And if that person is like, nah, I ain't going, then okay. Then we could either continue to chit chat, but this is not going anywhere. So yeah, that's definitely my takeaway.
So, Queen B.
I think my takeaway was just that like every experience usually has a lesson, and so I think that I could have taken the failed relationship with Major as like me being on just some negative, I hate men or I hate him. I could have. I think that, but I think that I learned that a part of this process has to be your own self-accountability. And so, like, what is your role that you played in the situation? And then how can you take that lesson and make sure it doesn't happen again?
Okay. And Major.
I would say my takeaway is definitely when you do wrong in a relationship, just own it and grow from it. Don't make the same mistakes. Keep making them because that's insanity. And so be honest with yourself. Part of me, if I have to be honest with myself, I know that I do like being in relationships, but I also know that they take a lot of work, and sometimes I put that on the back burner. And because I put it on the back burner, it doesn't always work. So, yeah, just own your stuff.
Right. My takeaway was the importance of friendships in relationships. So one of the things that both of you guys said was Bridget was a different friend than she was in a relationship. She held you accountable. So just the importance of having that foundation, because going back to what you said, Bridget, you're taking sex off the table because you want to see if there's something else there. So the importance of having a foundation above all else. And then there was something that you said, Major, that your pastor told you. I think he said above all else,
be a man of integrity.
Be a man of integrity.
Yeah.
And that's it. So thanks for tuning in to Brunch with Besties. Until next time.
Peace.
Yes.
Thank you for listening to Brunch with Besties. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to shoot us an email at brunchwithbestiespodcast@gmail.com. You can also find us on Instagram. Our handle is @brunchwithbestiespodcast. For right now, you can listen on SoundCloud. Be sure to review, subscribe, and comment. We appreciate it. Thank you.